Oh, well, if we break down all 16 of these teams, there are some huge, huge logos, right? Texas Tech is West Texas. You've got TCU, who went to the national championship last year. You're bringing in UCF, who has a claimed national championship. Cincinnati, a college football playoff. You've got now Arizona, Arizona State, who are good at Olympic sports, I guess. Colorado has Deion Sanders. And, man, Utah's winning Rose Bowls. Utah is at the forefront of college athletics, for better or worse for me. But none of them can match BYU. BYU is the biggest brand in the Big 12. Out of these 16 teams, they're one of the newbies. BYU's only been in the Big 12 for like a month and 5 days, but they are already the biggest brand in this league. Baylor's been to a couple Sugar Bowls the last few years and been very competitive in them. And again, I mentioned a team like Oklahoma State, who's won a Fiesta Bowl and been on the cusp of college football playoff. There are some really good schools in here, but it's BYU, man. Even after a disappointing year in football last year, even after losing to Utah for 9 straight years from 2010 to 2019, BYU still has somehow, they've lost Utah a lot in their history, but BYU has still somehow not relinquished the title of the flagship school of Utah. Utah is in Salt Lake City, is in the premier city. Utah is apex, right? It should be. It is the state's called Utah. The school's called Utah. Typically a good sign of you being the most dominant school in your state. But it is Louisiana syndrome. What's the biggest show in Louisiana? It's not the Saints. It's not the Saints. It is not the Pelicans. It is the Louisiana State, the LSU Tigers. And they're not. There's a whole Louisiana. There's a whole school called Louisiana. It's Louisiana syndrome. For Utah, they're called Utah, but BYU, Brigham Young University, which is, it's the most, I would say, religious school of the Power Five. What do we call that now? It's the most religious school in that bunch and has the most rabid fan base, the most rabidly kind fan base, the most passionate group of fans in America. BYU puts on a great show at LaVell Edwards Stadium. BYU has a fan base that stretches across the world. If BYU played a game in Charleston, South Carolina, it would be filled with BYU fans. If they did the same thing in Chicago, filled with BYU fans. It's like a service academy. Wherever Army and Navy go, there are plenty of people who are in the Army, plenty of people who are in the Navy who show up to that game. No matter who they're playing, they show up on the road. BYU's the same way. They will pack out your stadium. And then just when you think, I want to hate them, I want to hate BYU, they're the nicest people in the world. You can't hate them. No matter how hard you try. I don't know how Utah does it. You can't hate them. Look, Utah's great. Utah's been winning a lot of games, more games than BYU. But the way that this BYU fan base is spread so far and wide, the way they carry the BYU brand, the way that they make BYU the flagship school in a state that already has a Utah is unbelievable. I love Kalani Sitake, and I love what BYU stands for, and I truly believe that institution is going to thrive in the new Big 12 in more than just football because of a commitment, the same that Baylor has, a commitment to something deeper than just athletics. That keeps BYU as one of the more prominent. And you look at it too, if anybody go out there and just tweet, I love BYU, and see the way that the fan base wraps its arms around you. When people latch on to BYU, they're not a rabid fan base that's going to eat you alive. They're a rabidly kind group of people who will welcome you into the fold. And I don't think there's another brand like that in the Big 12. Moreover, what they do, along with Utah, is keep one of the top 10 rivalries in college athletics in this conference. The Big 12 is strapped for rivalries. There is not another top 15, top 20 rivalry in this league. It's BYU, Utah, and then maybe Baylor and TCU. Nobody cares about Kansas State. I don't think they care. What else? Arizona State. Nobody really cares about that. Rivalry week comes around. There's the Auburn, Alabama. Weeks before that, there's Texas, Oklahoma. You're talking about some major games, Army, Navy, Michigan, Ohio State, that just don't, those major games don't feature the Big 12, except for Utah, BYU. It's something that I would name a top 15 rivalry in college football. The fact that those two brands are in it make them prominent brands in the Big 12. You need rivalries. You need entertainment value to put butts in seats. BYU is a big part of that. Can they keep it competitive? They didn't for a while. They lost 9 straight. So please don't do that again. But you're the biggest brand here. How will you steward it? Will you lose and suck at football, or will you surprise people this next year? I don't know. What I do know is that I'm happy to be here, man. I've covered the Big 12 for 5 years. I've been with Locked On for a year and a half. Love this company. And I'm just blessed to be here. I'm just happy to be with this show, repping the Big 12. So I'm going to get along with a lot of you. Some of you are going to hate me. I get it. Some of these fan bases have just been so cocky early on, and I don't know if we're always going to get along, but man, I sure am going to be passionate about it. I love the Big 12. I love this opportunity. And come back tomorrow, because we got a whole lot of expansion stuff going on. Oh, man, who's next? If Florida State goes down, will the Big 12 go to 18, 20? What happens to Oregon State, Washington State? So much to talk about on Locked On. Thank you for making it your first listen every single day. Hit subscribe. Big 12.